This is On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. A weekly recap of your Philadelphia Flyers from blue line to blue line. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Han & Stone Spa, Pat Dion Beverages, The Capitol Grill, Chickies and Pete's, Payroll Service Solutions, and Independence Blue Cross. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Now, here are your hosts, former Flyers goaltending great Bernie Parent and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome, everybody, to On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, right here at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington, our last show of the year. We got a nice crowd, as you can tell. We have a cold day. Unfortunately, the Flyers played their last game.
Paul?
Yes, sir.
I have to say, it cost me a lot of money to get this.
What, the ovation?
The ovation,
There we
yeah.
are.
Yeah, you see, it's working.
That's what's great about Philly fans. No playoffs for like the 98th straight year. Fans are still here and rocking, and it's always like that. Hopefully they're going to have playoffs next year. We're going to have a fun time tonight. We want to thank Independence Blue Cross for their sponsorship throughout the year, Payroll Service Solutions, and many others. Bernard Marcel Perron, who you just heard, used to play, I think, goalie. Was it goalie? For this hockey team back in the Broad Street Bully days, your 2 Stanley Cup rings.
No, I was a trainer.
Were you the trainer?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I was. You know what? I was fortunate to be involved to play goal for a great team, and I shared this with people, a few times, that if you want to win in life, doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to be part of a team.
Yep.
By yourself, you'll never succeed.
Tell that to Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They had to.
Yep.
Somebody had to teach him at one point. Somebody had to help him.
You are so right. And somebody taught our guest how to write, and he took the ball and ran with it. He is a longtime hockey writer for the Allentown Morning Call, many other papers. The head and main writer in Flying Fish Hockey, which is a terrific website.
Yep.
A Saratoga lover like me, a runner not like me, Mr. Wayne Fish. Wayne, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, and thank you.
Yeah. Listen, this crowd, the crowd, by the way, 38,209 tonight. Wayne, obviously this is not a great year. Bern and Wayne, either one can answer this. Flyers going to miss the playoffs for the 5th straight year. Danny's got 3 first-round picks, 4 second rounds. He and Keith have a lot of big decisions, starting with a coach, personnel. What's your one takeaway, Wayne? 79 games done, 20-21 on the road at home, as you pointed out last night. Your number one takeaway of the Flyers season is what? Good or bad?
I think that it was a step back this year, but now that there's going to be a coaching change, you really can't say too much in terms of what the carryover effect will be. I also want to point out that even though it's been 5 years since the Flyers made the playoffs, it's only the 2nd year under the regime of Danny Briere and Keith Jones.
Correct.
So the clock is not really ticking that long on them. And I think this season points out that they have a lot of young talent, but they have to find a coach who's going to get the most out of that talent, who's going to be patient. And I don't think we saw a lot of that this year. I should say that the development is productive in one sense, but also there were times when young players were benched. And I don't see if you bench a guy for one game, fine. But if you bench him for, like with Morgan Frost, for 10 games in one season, that's not productive.
And New York, yeah. John Tortorella had his own way of doing things. Danny Briere says he wants a teacher.
Yeah.
We wish Torch the best wherever he winds up next. Bernie, what kind of coach do you think, whether it's Brad Shaw, David Carl, Rick Tocchet, or any other candidate, what kind of coach are you looking for?
Well, you know what? A coach is, you have to be careful. You have to have a coach that, you're running a team, what is it, like 20 players?
Yep.
And you have, and we've talked about this before. I believe if you want to succeed in life, not just in sports, but life in general, you have to be part of a team, and you could run the team, but you have to be part of a team. And if there's a situation where you separate yourself a little bit from the team, or the team from the coach, then it becomes a problem.
I'm going to ask you, it's going to sound like a joke, but it's not. You're a Hall of Fame goaltender. You obviously had a goalie coach. If Johnny Carson had been the coach of the Flyers instead of Fred Shearer, in other words, if your coach had nothing to do with you, the goalie, just said, play your game, I'll worry about the other guys, was that an accurate way to do it? Did Fred Shearer have a lot to do with what you did?
What's your next question? No, Freddie was a team coach from the beginning. He understood where I came from, and he, you know what, he would always bring the factor, big factor as far as the team will succeed, the team will win. I could, you know what, and I'm part of a team. I have a job to do, and understood that if I get 35 shots and I make 35 saves, we have a good chance to win.
All right, Wayne, if the Flyers, if Danny Briere, Keith Jones, or Dan Hilferty, whoever came to you and the search firm of Fish and said, we're looking for a new coach, young, old, college, pro, assistant, whatever, first-time coach, what are you looking for, and anybody specific you would be looking for?
I can tell you right off, I've been on a couple of shows already, and I've said pretty much unequivocally, I think Rick Tocchet would be ideal. The reason I'm saying that is not only was he a hero back here in Philadelphia, but he can lead, but he can just show a 5-minute film of himself to any locker room full of young guys and say, this is all you need to do, what I did in those 10 or 12 years that 7, I guess, here in Philadelphia, and then 5 other places.
Honest question, because I love Rick Tocchet, too. He's a good buddy of mine. If Rick Tocchet had played for the Penguins, if Rick Tocchet was Sidney Crosby, basically, would that have anything to do with your answer? Does the alumni part have anything to do with it? Because to me, you got to get the best coach, regardless of his background.
No, I don't put a lot of faith in the idea that he was a hometown hero. All I'm pointing out is he's a good fit in terms of he'll get the most out of the players that are here right now. I'm not sure if that applies to players who come down the road off the draft or through free agency, but I do know that there's a certain sense of these guys know who Rick Tocchet is. Now, if you bring a guy in that they've never heard of, then it's going to be a feeling out process. It might take a year or two. So
all right.
That's what I'm saying.
Monsieur Perrant, honesty is the only policy we use on this show, and in my opinion, Sam Ersson has not distinguished himself this year. He's been okay. He's not a 60-game-a-year guy like you, obviously, not anywhere near what you are. But the Flyers need a goalie. They need a veteran goalie, whether it's as a starter or to share the time. Obviously, the Carter Hurst situation is what it is. Do you think the Flyers need a goaltender?
Well, in the situation we're in, probably. But I think the situation is more, instead of looking for a goalie, okay, I think the right situation is to work, communicate. Again, it's teamwork. Okay, communicate with your goalie and defenseman, understanding if it's a right-hand shot in certain situations, what the goalie should expect from your defenseman, and what your defenseman should expect from your goalie.
But is Sam Ersson the guy?
So it's a team effort.
But is Ersson that guy? I mean, I can play goalie technically perfectly, expect a right-handed shot, and then watch the shot that was fanned on whiz by my shoulder because I suck. What are the Flyers have the guy they're looking for? Or do they need to find someone?
Well, we definitely your name won't be there, But
thanks.
but
You're right.
You know what? And I hate to criticize the goalies right now because I think the situation, like I said, is if you have good communication between the goalies and defense, that makes sense. If it's a right-hand shot, okay, and you tell your defenseman, play the man, okay, so I know that more likely the shot will go on my glove side. If it's a right-hand shot, a different side, play the man again, and I have an idea where the puck will be going from where the opening is. And once you have good communication like this with your defenseman, your defenseman also will understand what you're thinking, where you're going to be, and where you're going to challenge a shooter.
Well, Wayne, you can get Larry Robinson and Bobby Orr and other Hall of Fame defensemen like him, but if you put him in front of me or any of the other people in this room besides Monsieur Perron, it won't matter. I don't know how else to ask this. Wayne, do the Flyers need a goalie?
In my opinion, I'm going to defer to Bernie. If he says that he believes in Urson or that he sees promise in Kolosov.
I don't, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
If he sees promise in Kolosov or Fedotov, then I think I'm going to defer to him. I think that at some point they may draft another goalie in a lower round, but I don't see them using a first-round pick to get a goalie.
I think maybe a trade, maybe free agents and a veteran goalie. I'm not saying a starter, but somebody who could play 30 games. I mean, Fedotov is a nice story, nominated for the Masterton Award. By the way, Bernie, let's go over the awards. Flyers gave out the awards last night, Bernie and Wayne.
Yep.
The MVP of the Flyers, which is called the Bobby Clark Trophy, Travis Konechny, 75 points. The Barry Ashby Trophy for outstanding defenseman, Travis Sanheim won multiple times. Also won the Yank Dupree Class Guy Award. Pelly Lindbergh Memorial Trophy for the most improved player, Bobby Brink. That's well done. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Gene Hart Memorial Award for Hart, H-E-A-R-T, for H-A-R-T. Noah Cates, who's had a fabulous year. We had him on last year. And the Flyers Alumni Community Leadership Award does a lot for first responders, Garnet Hathaway. Anything in there stand out, Wayne?
Yeah, I think that the fact that Sanheim won multiple awards was my headline for the story I wrote.
And the Four Nations.
Yeah, and even Konechny had a great season, but a little bit up and down. But I still say that Sanheim here is a growing leader. I think that he's one that doesn't wear a letter, but he commands respect, and he's blossoming into a guy that's being considered, like you said, the Four Nations roster, and I think he'll make the Olympic team.
Bernie, the Bobby Clark Award is given out in honor of a guy you played with, your leader, believe it or not, Bobby Clark. What made him the great leader he was? He was a great player, he was a great leader. Everybody on the Broad Street Bullies always talks about him, won 2 cups, 3 MVPs, Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. What made him great?
His communication with the players, okay, and his enthusiasm about the game, and every time he stepped on the ice and in the dressing room, he was always pumped, and that carries throughout the whole team, and if you had a problem or something, there was no problem to communicate with him. Hey, I have a problem with this, or I have a problem with that. And let's talk about it, how we can solve it.
All right, so let's say the 1 or 2 times in your career where you woke up on the wrong side of bed, gave up 5 or 6 goals, your team got whacked, you're feeling terrible, down in the dumps. Bob Clark comes over after the game or maybe in private somewhere to talk to you. Did that ever happen?
Oh, yeah. I like that because you blame the defenseman. No, just
the blame game.
Just kidding. But definitely, it happened, and then Bob, the beauty about Clark, he was a great leader, and he wasn't afraid to approach the team in the dressing room and talk about those situations. What can we do, and what do we have to stay away from so this thing doesn't happen again? And that's how your team gets better, when you communicate like that.
All right, Wayne, communication is obviously very important. The Flyers lost a great communicator, maybe not quite the level of Bobby Clark, in Scott Lawton this year. Yes. They had to do what they had to do with the deadline. You mentioned Sanheim not wearing a letter. I got a feeling that's going to change next year. Obviously, Coots, the C, and I'm sure Travis will get that. The Flyers' leadership now, how is it?
That's sort of in a state of flux, because we don't know who's still going to be here next year, but as I pointed out, I think Sanheim is definitely a guy that could be a leader on this team, or he already is, but now being a designated one. Getting back to Bob Clark just for a second, I want to get my 2 cents in. When Bob Kelly retired a few weeks ago,
yep.
Bob Clark got up to the dais and said, "I want to tell you a quick story." And I don't know if you heard this or not.
Nope.
But Bob Kelly was, after a Stanley Cup game, Bob Kelly and Clark, he sat close together, right? They were like near, either next to each other or 1 apart.
Yep.
So after the game's over, Clark's sitting there, and one of the Flyer PR people says, the governor of Pennsylvania is going to come in and shake hands with everybody. Well, Kelly's in the shower. He comes out of the shower, and all he's wearing is a towel. And so he looks, and the governor of Pennsylvania is standing or sitting in Kelly's locker. So Kelly walks over to Clark and whispers in his ear, "Who's that? Why is he in my locker?" And Kelly says, "That's the governor of Pennsylvania." And Kelly paused for a second. He said, "I don't care who the heck that is. Get him out of my locker."
Did you get a 5-minute major? They go at it?
No, he got a game misconduct.
Game misconduct. Maybe a little more than a game misconduct.
Yeah.
All right, we're having fun talking about the Flyers season. Not ending how we wanted, but hopefully the playoffs will be in store next year. We'll talk about the chance of that. Danny and Keith, the offseason, free agency, a lot of draft picks, Ovechkin, many other things around the NHL, get a Stanley Cup pick. Much, much more from the beautiful Chickies and Pete's when the beautiful edition out back in Warrington on a cold day with a fireplace. And we're back right after this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky Pete's. Our selection of seasonal cocktails make any meal better. Come sip and enjoy our bourbon cherry lemonade, made with small batch bourbon, muddled fruits, and refreshing juices. What a winner! Is fruit your flavor? Try a watermelon shandy cocktail. A smoky grapefruit with mezcal and fresh lime. Or sip and enjoy a berry martini. All pair perfectly with our seasonal menu features. Come sip and enjoy at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions. Energy costs are skyrocketing. Now's the time to upgrade your old heater and air conditioning systems to more efficient units to save on your utility bills. Harris Comfort can also handle all your propane needs, as well as providing sales and service on whole house generators. Harris Comfort is still family owned and has been serving our area for over 60 years, providing sales, service, installation, and peace of mind. Call 215-788-4596 or go to harriscomfort.com. Harris Comfort, still family and still local.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer goaltending great Bernie Perrant.
All righty, back here at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. We're going to do the turnabout is fair play thing. Fans thanked us at the beginning of the show. We want to thank the fans, people coming out to the show every year, people supporting the Flyers and this radio station. Thank you so much for coming out all year, from Bernie, myself, Wayne, Chris, Matt, and everybody at WBCB. You're listening to On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, seen live on YouTube at WBCB Sports. Time now for the Independence Blue Cross Live Player of the Week. This week it's Tyson Forster, who had a hat trick against the Rangers among his 5 goals on the week. Remember to choose Independence Blue Cross today and begin to live fearless. Wayne Fish is our guest. Wayne, on a scale of 1 to 339, what chance does Brad Shaw have of becoming the Flyer coach? And if it's not Rick Tocchet, would a guy like David Carl fit in?
I think that he has a chance because it's sort of a wide open field. I don't think there's any one particular favorite. But the Flyers have responded in a very positive way for these 9 or whatever, there's 8 games so far.
Offensively especially.
Yeah, and you know, even when they are playing teams that are still in contention and still have superior talent, these guys have not given up. They've really tried. And you can see it after games in the locker room in their eyes that they really want this guy to succeed. Now, look at the track record of how many How many teams have fired a coach with 10 games left in the season, put the interim coach in, and then brought him back the following year? There aren't a lot.
No.
So you have that going again. But if the Flyers see something in Shaw, see that the young players respond, and don't forget, he's been coaching these young defensemen now for the last 3 years. So he has a working relationship with the young guys like Drysdale and Andre. And so I think that he has a head start, or a foot up, if they decide to hire him.
Yep, and that decision will come when, in your opinion? Obviously before the draft. Flyers in the
Yes.
lottery and the draft. Give us a date. Just throw one out there.
I think it could come quickly if they decide that they already have their choice, and that you're right, that they would want him in place by the end of June, obviously. But I think to have him in place sooner would be productive as well.
All right, Bern, you played for a few teams in your career. You won 2 cups, but you played more than 2 years. You also missed the playoffs a few times. We always hear about a team that wins the cup, not having enough time in the summer. It's hard to repeat. You played 1 million games, now you got to come back. We really don't hear the opposite too much. What's it like when you miss the playoffs? You're disappointed. You got all this time. How disappointing is that to an athlete?
Well, it is. Your goal is to, as a team, okay, to
Win the Stanley Cup.
To win the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
There's no question about it. And the one thing that I learned from Jacques Plante from Montreal, I always look at your team and how you could get the team better. Not just yourself, but the team, your defenseman, the forward. And once you understand how to play the game instead of creating 2-on-1s all the time or stuff like this, I understand today the game is more on the offense than defense, but when you could score 6 goals, they score 7 against you, then you have problems. So I think this approach should be changed a little bit, because the game has changed, but it should be changed, and concentrate just as much on defense. And like I said earlier, to understand each other, the goalie with the defenseman, what they're going to do in certain situation, and for them to understand what I'm going to do in that situation, and then that becomes a team effort.
Yeah. You mentioned a team.
And once you approach it this way, there's less chance to make a mistake.
Well, in that regard, we talk about other teams in Philly, other teams, other places. Nobody works these days in the off season. People make millions. The minimum salary is more than most people make in 10 years. Did you have a job when you played? I remember Chuck Bednarik, Concrete Charlie, actually sold concrete. Did you have a job in the off season?
No, I hate working. Yeah. They
did the right thing for it then.
Yeah.
What'd you do in the off season?
I did have a team. I did a lot of fishing.
A lot of fishing? All right.
Yeah.
Well, with fish.
I had the 44-foot boat,
Nice.
the Hatteras, nice boat, and I had a good team. We went out and we caught mermaids. We did well.
You caught one after your career?
Yeah, sure.
Here?
No, but here we go.
Yeah.
And I kept that one.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but you're talking about the biggest fish we ever caught. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready? You got to spend a minute on this. We were at the Baltimore Canyon, which is about 75 miles out, and we caught this big blue marlin.
Wow.
Okay, and we were just going to release it.
Who's we? Tell me, who else was in this?
The friends of mine, yeah.
Was any Flyers? Anybody we know?
Not on that one, no.
Okay.
But they but the fish died on us, so we got the block and tackle, brought the fish in, and so we came back and we weighed the fish in. It was 850 pounds.
Wow.
It was 18 feet long, and biologists came in and opened the fish up, and they said it was 11, 12 years old.
Wow, 850 pounds. We have a fish here with us today, Wayne Fish.
Not quite 850.
Do you fish, Wayne Fish?
When I was younger. but not. I
Well,
haven't done it
as a
recently.
matter of fact, I remember catching one looked just like him. Yeah, yeah.
Wayne, you spend your summers in interesting ways. We both love Saratoga, the races.
Yes.
You're a runner. You run marathons. Mm-hmm. You write books. You've written books on Chris Therien and Brian Propp. What do you do recreationally in the summer when hockey's not here?
Well, the usual traditional stuff: golf, tennis, swimming down at the shore, those kinds of things. But running has become my passion over the years, and I think it's just a great way to relax, and also you can spend time thinking about sort your things out, and so I really enjoy
We're
it.
talking marathons, not like trips around the block, right?
No, my marathon days are probably over, but I still run maybe 5-6 miles a day.
Wow, impressive stuff.
As a matter of fact, I heard somebody say that marathon were over when you was younger too.
Yeah. There we are. Marathons were over for me the day I was born. Birth, end of my marathon career. All right, guys, this obviously is a huge off-season for Danny and Keith, primarily for Danny. He's the GM. 3 first-round picks, 4 seconds in the draft. Could use those in any way to get players. You don't want to rent people. You can swirl those around, try to move up in the draft, move down. Future years, they got picks. They got a coaching change. You got kids like Owen Tippett and Cam York and Tyson Forster and a bunch of others. Obviously, Matvei Michkov. What does Danny do with these picks? How does he build his team? Do you rent anybody, Wayne? I don't rent anybody. I'm trying to. Next year, they got to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say got to, because I think that's sort of like putting a little undue pressure on some of the younger guys.
But isn't sports about pressure?
Well, I'm just saying my own opinion,
Okay.
which is that I think that it's fascinating to see if Luchenko and Kaplan.
Explain, because nobody knows who Kaplan is. They just signed him.
Yeah, they just signed him. Alex Bump from Western Michigan, who won the NCAA title.
Jones is a Western Michigan
And
guy.
Kaplan was on Boston University,
Yep.
who lost the NCAA championship. But the pedigree is there. And I think that you just have to be patient. Now, again, I point out that this is only really the second year of a rebuild, not 5 years, because this is when Briere and Jones took over, and they basically have changed the whole course of where this is going. And getting back to where we talked about Brad Shaw is sort of John Tortorella without the attitude. He comes into the room, and he's very studious, and he talks the game so that you realize that they're being coached and being taught how to play the game the right way. And so I think that if it takes another year or two, the fans will just have to be patient, and that you have to root for these young kids. You have to say to yourself, wow, I mean, if they make it if we get somewhere with these guys, it'll be all the more fun.
All right, let's talk players. Matvei Michkov, draft from last year. He came early. I'm being quite honest. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year. He shouldn't win Rookie of the Year. Lane Hudson in Montreal should, but Michkov might wind up being the best player in his class. What's his ceiling, Wayne? What do they have to do to get him there? Do they need a center iceman?
Yeah.
You got to make your best players and give them all the help they can get. What's Michkov's ceiling, and what do they have to do to get him there?
I think of all the guys that we're talking about, the goalie from Calgary, the guy Celebrini from the San Jose Sharks, these are going to be guys that probably will be finalists along with Michkov. But I'm going to say this right now. 5 years from now, Michkov will be the best of those players.
Yep.
And that's how I vote. I'm one of the guys who votes for the League of Wars. And I always look at it that way and people say to me, well, how do you know? And I say, I don't, but I see signs here right now. The scuttlebutt, people talking, coaches talking to me, and so forth.
The culture change. He's 20 years old. I mean, bad team, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, sure. And so I think that if the Flyers stay patient and stick to their guns and stay with these young guys, that eventually it will pay off.
Bernie, what do you see in Michkov?
Well, you know what? It's all. To me, it's not one individual. For an example, I'll use Clarkey again. If Clarkey would have been not a selfish, but I forget the expression, a self-centered,
Narcissist?
player, things would have happened differently,
Sure.
And I think I keep going back, like I said earlier, you have to teach those guys. Doesn't matter how good they are. You could have leaders and the whole bit, but at the same time, you have to teach them you're going to win as a team. okay? And you have to work together. And as a coach, you have to practice this. You have practice situations because now players, you don't have the players, the old days, where you got together behind the blue line and moved on. Today, the game has moved rapidly, but you're going to win as a team, and goalie, defense, forward, and then coaches, you have to work as a team. And once you do this, and you start from the beginning of the season, then guess what? A lot of beautiful things will happen during the season.
Yeah. Well, we hope beautiful things will happen. They need size. They need a center. They need, I think, some goaltending. We'll talk about other players on the Flyers other than Mitchkov, where they're going. We'll see what Wayne's ceiling is, see what Bernie's ceiling is, talk about the Stanley Cup, the playoff start. We wish the Flyers win them. I'm sure we'll all still be watching. This is On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross from Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. Come back after this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Come taste and enjoy some features from our latest seasonal menu. Try our Southern California chicken sandwich, our delicious Southern glazed cutlet with avocado and jalapeno pineapple salsa, and our seafood pasta with our signature crab, mouth-watering shrimp, and penne pasta with our world-famous red or Sicilian sauce. Pair it with a seasonal cocktail like our Very Berry Cherry Martini or our Watermelon Shandy cocktail. Taste and enjoy at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
Serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer counties since 1957, WBCB can help your business grow. If you want to gain more exposure locally, contact us at 215-949-3232. That's 215-949-3232. Or contact Matt at WBCB1490.com. That's Matt at WBCB1490.com. WBCB Radio. Here today, here yesterday, and here tomorrow. Now on 107.3 FM as well as 1490 AM.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer goaltending great Bernie Perrant.
All righty, back here at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. We love it here. We hope we're here next year and many to come. They do a great job. Thank you to everybody here at Chickies and Pete's, including the honcho himself, Mr. Shiroki. It's time now for the Smart Side of the Week, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That's 1-866-PAY-EASY. Fire season ends tomorrow in Buffalo. It gets going again in October. We're all looking forward to that, being with you here on another year of On the Ice. We look forward, not back. That was your Fire Smart Side of the Week. Once again, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions, catering to the small, medium-sized business, handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY. Here with Wayne Fish and Bernard Marcel Perrant. Wayne, here's a stat. It's unbelievable. It's called a Pyrrhic victory. Flyers finished 30th on the power play this year. Well, one more night, barring something miraculous, which was an improvement because they had been dead last the last 3 years.
Right.
What's going on with that?
Well, I think that they haven't had a quarterback since Shane Gostisbehere that can really control what's going on, once they get a power play. I mean, you have to have movement. You have to have misdirection. You have to have guys that are willing to take a Tim Kerr, a Paul Holmgren, a Gary Dornhofer. You have to have someone stand in front of the net and create havoc. And right now, every night, it looks like it's somebody different. So I think you have to get roles that are established and then also that are effective.
Bernie, how much power play? I mean, you guys had fabulous players, Bill Barber, Rick McLeish, Gary Dornhofer, great defensemen, Jimmy Joe Watson, Barry Ashby, and on and on and on. How much of a power play is players and how much is system, in your opinion?
Well, it's, first of all, you have to have the players. Number two, system is not far behind. And I'm a firm believer, I keep repeating myself, but it's so important to understand the system. Let's say we're on the same team, we're on the power play, right?
We got a problem then.
Yes. Yeah, maybe I should pick somebody else. Yeah. No, but you know what? I'm a forward, okay? I have to understand, what I want to do. You have to understand what I'm going to do. You have to understand what I'm going to do. I have to understand where you're going to go, what you're going to do. So it all comes down to, and I keep repeating myself, and it's so important in life in general, for that matter, teamwork, understanding each other.
Power play is all teamwork.
The power play, it's not one person.
Nope.
Like you look for an example, guys like Gretzky. With so many goals or whatever, 800 some goals. And you know what? He was part of a great team.
Yeah.
That made it happen. He was one of the best players ever played. But at the same time, he was part of a great team. And that's what made it happen.
All right, Wayne, before we get to the Flyers and their power play and their players, guy who's pretty good in the power play named Alexander Ovechkin in Washington just broke Wayne Gretzky's record. My admiration for him has kind of grown through this. He's become more of a team guy, I think. He's one of the greatest players ever, obviously. How long does he keep going? What do you think?
I think he just said the other day, I'm going to keep on playing as long as I can. He's 39, but there are guys who have played to 40, 41.
Get 1,000?
But I think that's the next objective, is maybe put that record out of reach. We were talking about this last night. Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs is 27 years old and has 400 goals.
Yep.
If he does exactly what he just did from 27 to 34, he'll have 800 goals. So think about it. 800 goals at the age of 34.
Yeah, but you just said if he can do. Chances are he won't do that.
Oh no, you're right. But he's been playing for a very,
he's terrific
very
player.
strong,
Injuries, anything
very
can
strong team. So there's all that to consider. But just theoretically, let's just say it's 700 or 650. He would still have 5 or 6 more years to give it a shot. So, yeah, that record looks like it's unbeatable. Pete Rose, we thought that Lou Gehrig's record for number of consecutive games and all that.
Carrick can beat it by 500.
Yeah, Cal. There's all different records that we think are not going to be broken. Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We never thought that 40,000 points. LeBron James just broke it. So I never like to say that. I mean, maybe Joe DiMaggio's 56-game unbeaten streak might be one or something like that. But some of these ones that are just cumulative, I think that they're always out there and someone can break. It's good for the game, though.
It is. Records may be broken. You saw the excitement that it drew. I'm not sure any of these Flyers guys will break any records, but Flyers got some good young players. Owen Tippett, I think, with the right leadership, the right coaching, the door can be unlocked for him. Tyson Forster, we're kind of seeing it. Cam York, Jamie Drysdale. Bobby Brink won the Most Improved Player Award, Wayne, the Pelle Lindbergh Award. He's not a big guy, but playing on a line that's very effective. Hell of a player this year. He is.
I asked that last night of Brad Shaw after the game was over because he had just won the award for Most Improved, and he pointed out that the biggest thing that two things, his play away from the puck, three things. Play away from the puck, his forechecking, and his ability to recognize a play and react quickly. And those are things that you're not born with.
That's Gretzky-like stuff.
Yes, that's something that you're something that you are born with. You can polish it up and you can hone those skills. but you have to have that athleticism, that ability to see. And Gretzky, to me, I watched him play for almost his entire career, and it was amazing how he saw the ice. He saw things that no one else could see.
No.
And that's why he had 2,000 assists. That's another record that probably will never be broken.
I don't think you can add for sure to that one. I mean, 2,000 is a lot. Bernie, when the guys you played against a lot of guys who set records. You played against Bobby Hull with a ginormous shot. What's the one thing, if somebody said, what one thing do you remember from your career? Would it be Bobby Hull's shot? Would it be Coffey's speed? Would it be something? What one thing? A guy on your own team would be included too.
Why did you bring Bobby Hull? I was having a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
wait a second. The guy was clocked at 115 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay? He came down one time right across the blue line. Never forget this. And about 40 feet out, he decided, a big smile on his face too, decided to...
This is the part I have trouble with. Do you notice the smile on the guy's face?
Yeah.
Guy's about to shoot a puck 120 miles an hour at you.
Yeah.
And you're like, nice smile, nice teeth.
Yeah.
Why do I doubt that?
And he took the shot, right? And he missed my head, hit the board, the glass behind me, and Glenn Hull had to make the save at the other end. They came back. And you know what? He was smiling, and I said, "Thank you, Lord, he missed me." Not that he didn't score. Thank you, Lord, he missed me.
Wayne, if I told you when you were a kid, or somebody told you when you were a kid, showed you a hockey puck, how hard it is, and said you can choose a career where somebody can shoot one of these things at 110, 115 miles an hour at your head from close range, not just once, but over and over and over and over again for a life, whatever. Would you take that?
Yeah, I would have become a forward.
No, Wayne.
No.
Oh, Wayne, I'm sorry.
No, I had when I was a kid.
Did you play?
Yeah, I played up to college, and when I was a junior high school, the goalie got sick, and I had to fill in, and I was scared to death. And after, believe it or not, in those days they had clear plastic that came all the way down instead of the colored mask, and a shot hit me on the head, and I thought I was on another planet. Yep. So my hat is off to Bernie and the whole crowd. That's the last time I ever did that again.
That's what happened?
Yeah, got caught in the head, yeah.
I was wondering what happened. That's what happened.
Very good. I hear you. That's
You're
good.
You're
Good job.
I caught in baseball, kind of the same thing. I'm going to throw out a guy's name, Bernie and Wayne. Just respond to it if you could. This guy had a great year, had a great rookie year, not a good year last year, was on this show, terrifically nice kid. On the line this year, was a plus for the year. Not many Flyers were plus. Nick Seeler was. He was also on the show. Noah Cates, Bernie. When I say that name, what rings a bell with you?
Well, it rings a bell. It's just the, and I keep repeating myself, from the beginning, it's all about working as a team, understanding what you're going to do. The game has changed from when we played, and understanding what your teammates are going to do in that situation, and it helps you to make the right decision. And the more talent you have, the better decision you're going to make.
All right, so Wayne, Noah Cates, a lot of people call Little Coots. I mean, a lot of people can do what Bernie said. A lot of people can't. Why is Noah Cates such a chameleon that can adapt whatever position, whatever line, whatever people, whatever? How does he do that?
He's resilient, and I can tell you a little thing. At the beginning of the season, opening night, he was benched, and he was not even playing for the first 3 or 4 games. And everyone thought, oh, man, he's really in Tortorella's doghouse. And to his credit, he worked his way out of that doghouse by his work ethic and by never giving up and by saying, you know what, when writers would come over and say, well, do you have any bitterness about what's going on? He just smiled and looked at the writers and said, you know what, I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to get it done. And he ended up with his best season so far. And so he could have won Most Improved Player. Bobby Brink won, but he could have won Most.
When people call him Little Coots, is that fair to Coots? Is that fair to him? What does it say?
I think that there's some legitimate comparisons there. I think that Couturier's problem right now is that he's had 2 back operations and it's really compromised his skills.
But
he did win. He did win the player for Selke for best, all-around defensive forward. And so his career's been compromised a little bit. But, yeah, to make a comparison to Couturier, I think is legitimate.
Bernie, are we going to be talking next year at this time about the Flyers' first playoff series? What do you think?
Well, for next year,
Yeah.
you know what? I hate to repeat myself all the time, but it's so important. To get in the playoffs, you have to start from the beginning, from training camp, and you have to have good communication between the coach and the players, so the players understand their roles on the ice, and they understand what the coach expects from them.
Give me an example of the Broad Street Bullies, a player who was better because he understood his role on the ice than if he just went out there and started winging it.
Well, I would say all the players.
Everybody.
Everybody.
And Freddie did that?
Everybody. And Freddie did that, yeah.
You guys
brought the team together, and that's how we won. Look, the first year when we won the Stanley Cup against the Bruins, Bobby Orr, Busick, and all those guys, Orr should have, I mean, Boston should have won in 4 games, but the Flyers had a great goalie. I forget his name.
Wayne Stevenson.
But, yeah.
was it Bobby Taylor or Wayne Stevenson? I can't
Bobby
remember.
Taylor, yeah. No, but they, what were we talking about? I'm sorry.
Hockey.
Hockey, yeah.
The playoffs.
The playoffs. You're looking at Orr, Busick, and all those guys, and I believe they had Cheevers. Didn't they have Cheevers in goal? Yeah. And you're looking at that team, and you're saying, man, thank God we're in the finals. But at the same time, as a team, in leadership of Clarkey, and Freddie behind the bench, and let's not forget the beautiful crowd we had.
The best.
The best. Watching and supporting us was a beautiful thing. And for us to overcome that team and to win the championship, I'll never forget this the rest of my life.
None of the Flyers fans will. Some of the fans here, I think we're at that final game. It's an amazing thing. Stanley Cup playoff start. Bernie's wearing 2 rings. We'll ask Wayne and Bernie who's going to be wearing 1 in a couple of months. Playoffs start on Monday, I think it is, Sunday, whatever, something like that. Yeah. Final segment of the year. Independence Blue Cross on the ice from Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. Having a great time. Hope you are too. Back after this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Come taste and enjoy some featured items from our latest seasonal menu. We make magic with shellfish. Try our cluster of Dungeness crab legs served Chickie style for the entire table to share or make it a meal. And our shrimp po' boy sandwich satisfies with our one-of-a-kind fried shrimp. Pair any of these with a cocktail like bourbon cherry lemonade or our Italian ice crush. Now that's flavor. Come taste and enjoy at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions. With over 7,200 square feet of 200 brewers in stock at all times, Pat Dion Beverages now features 5 different flavors of their favorite slushy cocktails. You can also purchase all your wine, liquor, and other fine spirits right next door. Visit us on Facebook or online at patdionbeverages.com for upcoming events and samples from your favorite brewery or local food vendor.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer goaltending great Bernie Perrant.
All right, our final segment is going to start with something that hadn't started with in quite a while. Monsieur Perrant just had a momentous birthday. He turned 40 twice. And we got a lot of people here to celebrate it. His wife, Jeannie, the nice folks at Chickies and Pete's have arranged for a cake with a candle that apparently is not working.
Listen, I'm French. Explain that to me. 40 twice. What does that mean?
That means 80.
Okay.
40, wait, I can't remember how to say 80. But anyway, here's a cake from Chickies and Pete's. Everybody ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bernie. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
You know what? Hey, let's pretend I killed it.
Don't burn 'em.
Yeah, there we go.
That is a good-looking dessert, too.
By the way, folks, I hate to say this to you, but as they say in the old days, I ain't sharing with you one bite. Yeah.
That is a good-looking dessert. Everything here at Chickies and Pete's is so good.
Good job.
Yep.
Love you. Hey, you know what? We love you too. Look at this.
Absolutely.
We won for our team, but we won for the people in Philly. Yeah.
Absolutely
Here we
true. Bernie's a legend. Wayne's a legend too. Wayne, listen, I've been covering the Flyers for a long time. Very few people in the media are as respected as you are. You have no real enemies that I know of, other than the guy that tried to kill you the other. No. Why do you think that is? What has kept you in this game so long without making enemies? We hear about writers going after people, broadcasters going after people, fights, blah, blah, blah. It's going to happen once in a while. Doesn't seem to happen with you. How come?
Well, I like I said before, I played hockey as a kid, and I also had aspiration to be a sports writer. And that's kind of like when you go to college, you don't study to be a hockey writer. You study to be a journalist, and then hopefully you get a job in sports, which I was lucky enough to do here in Bucks County. And then the Flyers, I started my career around the same time that the Flyers had all their success in 1971,
So
72.
you covered Bernie.
So I covered Bernie. I was not the full-time guy yet, but I was like a secondary guy. I didn't take over the team until 76. But
My
I
God,
was
give
around.
him a chance. You know, I played one that was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
that was that's fine. And so to answer your question, I've covered all the other sports, the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Sixers, but the Flyers had a certain thing about them that I really liked, their honesty and their ability to sort of accommodate the press. And a lot of the the last all-Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup was the 75 Flyers. And so a lot of these guys came from small towns. Even Bob Clark came from Flin Flon and, from some of these small towns. So they had a lot of respect for journalism and for writers and people and just people in general.
That'll never happen again, right? I mean,
No.
there's it's a worldwide game
Yes,
now.
it is.
From,
Yes,
from
it is.
everywhere. Bernie, you had an all-Canadian team. Now you have people from every friggin' country in the world. You didn't have Russians back then. Didn't have Americans on that team. An all-Canadian team. With that, the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup was Montreal, the Canadiens, in 1993. And I think all of Canada, be it Toronto, even Montreal would root for Toronto. Toronto would root for Montreal in the finals, and they hate each other. How important is it for Canada to win a Stanley Cup?
Well, of course it is important, and just like in Philly, winning the World Series, and things like this, it's important. But you're talking earlier about communication, with the players and the fans, and in the old days, communication wasn't as good as would have liked to, love to, because speaking French was much easier than speaking English.
Oui, oui.
You know? Oui, oui, yeah. And but at the same time, within the team was the same way too. You know, you had guys from different parts of the country, and you couldn't communicate with them in French, so you had to learn to communicate, and they had to learn to communicate with us too.
Wayne, I always ask, I have some friends that are referees, Ian Walsh, who just retired, and a bunch of others. Referees in hockey have to know curse words in pretty much every language on earth, don't they?
Yes, they do. Kerry Frazier, by the way, I just ran into
We've had him on the show, yeah.
Just ran him the other day at the press box. He has a book out, and we talked about the old days and how the game was a little bit different. But in some respects, it still has that ethos, that feeling of hard work and diligence pays off. And that covers the entire world now, not just Canada, not just the United States, but all the players that come in here learn how the work ethic is what matters the most. And that, again, is what attracted me there.
And you know what? This applies to anything you do in the world.
Yes.
Sure.
Not
Well, look
just
what just
in
happened
sports.
here. I mean, the Eagles just won the Super Bowl, had this great parade. Obviously, the people enjoyed it. The fans enjoyed it. People took off school, off work. Did you must have enjoyed that, Bernie and Wayne, right? Even though it's not
Of
hockey.
course, of course. You know, they.
How jealous were you?
You know what? They you know, the way they played, you know, they had good leaders, you know, and they have the greatest fans in the world, as far as I'm concerned, and great coaching, and they have which I didn't say this before, but that family approach, that you care about each other, you know, which is very, very important.
Is that unique to Philly, Wayne? I mean, not unique, but what makes Philly such a great town of fans?
It's a blue-collar town, and they appreciate the hard work. They respect the fact that they come in here and they understand that they're not going to just, you know, la-di-da through this thing. They're going to really have to work their butts off. I want to add one more thing. Craig Berube, who's coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Go Chief.
His off-season home is in Bucks County. And so anybody from around here should be rooting for the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. I know that I am.
I am too. You Bernie, make three of us?
Yes.
Go. There we are. That's a good way to end this one
Yeah.
today. Wayne, thank you so much for being here. We'd love you here again next year.
Hey, thank you.
My
Love
pleasure.
to talk some playoffs, and thank you so much. Bernard Marcel, what more can I say? 80 years young, hopefully 80 more, many, many more. Let's do it again next year, you and your beautiful wife, Jeannie.
Yeah. You know, thank you, Lord. You know what, beautiful friends. And look at this here. You're talking about teamwork. Look, it's not that big of a crowd, but we're a team.
A loud team,
You know
too.
what? A loud team, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Thank you to all the
Awesome.
fans. Thank you to Jeannie Perrant, Bernie's wife, who's fabulous. Thank you to Chris Irmer, Steve Lawler, Matt Miro, everybody at WBCB, Independence Blue Cross, Payroll Service Solutions. Thanks, everybody. Had anything to do with
Excuse
this
me
show.
a second. How about a good hand for Paul? He's done a great job, huh? Yeah. Good leadership. Yeah.
Checks in the mail, Bernie.
Hey.
All right.
Hey, now you owe me $20.
I will, and I will give you that $20. Thank you most of all to the fans, Steve and everybody else. Thank you for coming. This has been Independence Blue Cross on the Ice from Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. We hope you're here next year. See you then. Until then, have a great summer and go Flyers.
Yeah.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W290.